So last time we discussed how a symbolic analysis at the loop level can produce more precise transfer functions or answers, values than what a regular vanilla DFA, data flow analysis, would produce. Now the question here is we want to somehow reason about both the data flow analysis of the larger program and the loop level symbolic analysis in the single framework, right? Because loops are only a part of the larger program. We may want to use symbolic analysis for loops, but then we also want to integrate it with the data flow analysis in the rest of the program. After all, when we talk about the loops symbolic analysis, we have to worry about what is the initial value that comes into the loop, or what's the initial mapping that comes into the loop. And to get that initial mapping, we need a data flow analysis on the rest of the program. So the question is, and then there can be multiple loops, there can be nested loops and things like that. And so the question is, how do you integrate them? How do you tie this all together into a single analysis framework? So the high level idea is that we are going to treat a loop as a single statement and define its transfer function for the DFA. All right. So we're going to basically behave as though the whole loop is a single statement. And then we're going to do the DFA for the entire program. And then when we hit the loop, then we are going to basically find out what's the DFA, what's the transfer function of that loop statement, that compound statement that is representing the loop. And to identify the transfer function of that single statement, we can use any sophisticated analysis. For example, we can use a symbolic analysis. So internally, to identify the transfer function of that statement that represents the loop, we're going to use symbolic analysis to identify a more precise transfer function than what a data flow analysis would have given us. So this is a high level idea on how to tie this together into a single framework. And notice that this is somewhat similar to how we used to treat a basic block as a single statement. Recall that when we were discussing data flow analysis and the first few modules of data flow analysis, then we discussed how it may be easier to talk about every basic block as a single statement. Especially when we are talking about gen and kill sets, and so we define gen and kill over the entire basic block instead of dealing with every statement separately. When we were discussing that, treating a single basic block as a single statement, we were basically interested in efficiency, but this time we are interested in precision. All right. So when we were discussing basic block, we were basically using gen and kill sets and just composing them together. It wasn't really giving us any different answer than what it would have given us if we didn't consider basic blocks as single statements. But here, when we treat the loop as a single statement, we are expecting different answers. In particular, we are expecting more precise answers than if we consider the loop as a general graph, as a general subgraph. Okay, so you may say, okay, you consider a loop as a single statement, but then what if it has nested loops? So you also want to consider those nested loops as a single statement and so on. And so this becomes a hierarchical structure, all right? And so what I'm going to do is we're going to recursively divide the control flow graph into these subgraphs, which we're going to call regions. And so this kind of data flow analysis is also called region-based analysis. And then we are going to identify transfer functions for each region. Notice the word recursively, because maybe at the high level we can just see every top level loop. Let's say there was one loop at the top level and there was another loop nested inside that top level loop. Then at the larger level we just see the top level loop as a single statement. Then when I try to look within that loop, then I see another loop as a single statement. And then when I look within that loop, then I see an actual subgraph that we have to do symbolic analysis on. All right. So regions form hierarchical structures, and that's why we recursively divide the control flow graph into regions. So here is an example. So this is an entire control flow graph. It's a pretty complex control flow graph. It is a reducible control flow graph. So we are only talking about reducible graphs, as we have discussed earlier. We're going to focus our attention purely on reducible graphs because they are the most common programs. Most common programs are reducible graphs, and B, even if some program is not reducible, it's possible to convert it into a reducible graph. All right. So the first thing is we can have a region for the entire procedure. Okay. So that means that maybe I want to do some kind of symbolic analysis on the entire procedure and reason about the entire procedure about the transfer function of an entire procedure as the transfer function of a single statement. So maybe I have some other very sophisticated analysis that can reason about the entire procedure, and I want to allow for that. And so the highest level region can be the region for the entire procedure. Okay. Then we can have at the second level one region for every top level loop. So in this program, you can see all these back edges that are basically edges that are going from bottom to top, or these kind of things. And so all the green squares here are identifying the top level loops. Okay, and notice that there are loops that are nested within these top level loops. For example, this loop here. But at the second level, I don't have visibility into the inner loops. I only have visibility to the top level loops. So this is the first level. This is the second level after the procedure level region. And so if I want to do a DFA on the procedure level region, I will summarize this entire top level loop as a single statement. Maybe do symbolic analysis on this top level region, and reason about the whole transfer function of this entire loop. All right. Then within each loop, within all these top level loops, there could be next level loops, right? So a region for every loop at the next depth levels. For example, this square drawn in orange is basically the next level loop that is nested within this top level loop. All right. So this is the third level of hierarchy. In this control flow graph, actually there is only one next level loop, because all these loops are actually the same, because they are they're sharing. Oh, maybe I could have also drawn this one as a next level loop. All right. So, and this one maybe, right? Okay. So these are the next level loops for this graph. So this is the third level of hierarchy. And now when I'm reasoning about the control flow graph of this green box, then I can first reason about this entire orange box as a single statement. Maybe using symbolic analysis. All right. So basically, I'm going to be, at any time I'm reasoning about at some level of the hierarchy, and when I'm reasoning about that level of the hierarchy, I treat the region at the next level of the hierarchy as a single statement, because that's going to give me a more precise analysis. That's the idea. Finally, I can have a region. So first of all, the loop nesting could be arbitrary. In this particular example, I'm showing only 2 levels of nesting, but maybe your control flow graph has n levels or k levels of nesting, in which case this loop region hierarchy could be of depth k. And then after I am done with all the loops, I've reached the innermost loop, then basically I can have a region for every basic block. So all these gray boxes here are basically representing basic blocks. In fact, these circles, these nodes, are also in the control flow graph, are also intended to represent control flow graphs. So these gray boxes are just around every circle. And then the fifth level of hierarchy of these regions is basically every individual instruction. So that's the lowest level, that's the leaf node of my region tree, because anyway I have to reason about the transfer function of an individual instruction as the transfer function of a single statement. Okay, so now that I have divided my program into a hierarchy of regions, for any DFA I need to assign a transfer function to every region at every level. Okay, so somehow, let's say I'm able to identify a transfer function for every region. Okay, so let's just complete this. So let's say I have a transfer function for this green region. Then let's say I have the transfer function for all of these green regions. Then when I'm trying to do the data flow analysis of the procedure level, then I just use the summarized transfer function of the green region to identify the values at all points in the control flow graph. However, because I had summarized the green region, what about the points that are internal to the green regions? So if I want to identify what are the values that are internal to the green region, then based on the analysis of the higher level, I would be able to know what are the values at the entry of this green region. And using that, now I can go to the next level of hierarchy and run the DFA on inside the green box, which will have gray boxes and orange boxes. And once again, I can use summary transfer functions for the orange boxes using some sophisticated analysis. And similarly, potentially I could use summary functions even for basic blocks. But basic blocks, we don't really usually have transfer functions for basic blocks that are more precise than the typical data flow analysis anyway, because basic blocks as a straight line sequences of code, but we've already seen that loops can have better, more precise transfer functions using symbolic analysis. So we're going to have more precise transfer functions for the orange boxes, and based on that we are going to be able to compute the DFA values inside the green box. Now once again we have been able to identify all the DFA values inside the green box and at the orange box boundaries, but what about points within the orange box? Now once again we can go to the next level of the hierarchy and run the DFA inside the orange box, using the entry value of the orange box that we have computed by doing the DFA at the green box hierarchy level, and so on. So this is basically, this is just dividing my DFA, which was earlier organized as a flat structure over the entire control flow graph, into a hierarchical structure, where at any level of hierarchy, I assume summary transfer functions for the next level of hierarchy. Okay. So the region hierarchy can be organized as a tree, of course. The top level node of the region hierarchy is the procedure region. And let's say the procedure region has 3 children in this region hierarchy. The first child is a top level loop. The second child is just a basic block. And the third child is also a top level loop. And so if I draw the graph of this top level relationship between the first level and the second level, maybe this is my graph, all right? And I'm using top level loop number 1, basic block number 1, and top level loop number 2. And actually this is, in the figure, this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. So if I look at the top level graph, it just looks like an acyclic graph. So 1 is going to 2, and also there is an entry point. Let's say 1 is the entry point. 1 is going to 2, 2 is going to 3, and 1 is going to 3. Now 2 is actually not just a single statement. 2 is actually a basic block. Similarly, 1 is not a single statement. 1 is actually a top level loop. So inside this there's a loop, but that is completely hidden at this level of region hierarchy. And so now I can run the DFA on this, pretending that 1 has a transfer function of its own, as a summary transfer function of its own. And so now I can run the DFA on this, assuming that 1 has a summary transfer function of its own. Because recall that for region-based analysis, I assign a transfer function for every region. So the top level loop number 1 is a region, and I'm pretending as though it's a single statement. And so it has a transfer function just like as though it was a single statement. And so based on this, I can just do a data flow analysis on this, and I can get my the values at all these program points that are at the boundaries of these regions. But that may not be enough, right? Maybe I want to get into the loop. I want to know what is the value inside the loop, top level loop number 1 at some program point within the loop. Now this is, at this level I didn't have that visibility, so I can't really do that. And so for that I need to go to the next level. And so I'm going to go to the next level. And here top loop level number 1 is basically, let's say, composed of next level loop number 3 and basic block number 2. Okay. Similarly, top loop number 2 is composed of basic block number 3 and basic block number 4. And then basic block number 1, I don't really divide anything. Let's say I assume that basic block is the last level of hierarchy. Although in my previous slide I mentioned that an individual instruction is the last level of hierarchy, I can also choose the basic block to be the last level of hierarchy and assign that and just get done with that. Okay, so in this figure, just for simplicity, I'm assuming that I'm going to stop at basic blocks to make my slide less crowded. So in this loop, I basically identify that this is my control flow graph, and I'm calling this 2.1 and 2.2. So 2.1 is a region and 2.2 is a region, and this is the relationship between them. We enter at 2.1, okay, and we exit at 2.2. All right, so every place where we need to know where we enter and where we exit. And then I can kind of, if I was interested in some value at either the beginning or end of 2.1 or at the beginning and end of 2.2, I can run the data flow analysis at this level now. The entry value, the boundary condition for this region is going to be the value that was computed through the data flow analysis at the higher level. So whatever is the data flow analysis computed because on this graph, we are going to know, based on that, we're going to know what is the entry value at any node, right? So for example, top level loop number 1 is let's say node number 1. So we know what is the entry value, and so that's what we're going to use into this graph. Similarly, basic top level loop number 2, which was originally node number 3, is getting divided into 2 basic blocks, and this is its control flow graph. This particular is the entry and this is the exit. And so if I want to know what is the boundary condition for this subgraph, that is basically the value that is coming into 3 from these 2 different edges and a meet of them or something like that, right? So basically what is the value that's coming into the 3 basic block? It's whatever the possible value that can come into 3, and so I can pretend that there are 2 entries, which basically means that I'm going to meet the 2 answers, and that's I'm going to assume as the boundary condition for this subgraph. And then I can compute the data flow analysis on this subgraph. Okay, so what am I doing? I have hierarchically divided my data flow analysis. I first do my data flow analysis on the top level. Now based on that, I identify the boundary conditions for the next level regions. And then using those boundary conditions, I can do data flow analysis on the next level. And I can keep doing this, okay? And finally, let's say this next level loop number 3 has 1 basic block, and this is its structure. This is the entry and this is the exit, and let's say it's called 2.1.1. These labels, I'm just using some labels to distinguish these different regions. And in this region, once again, the entry value is going to be based on the value computed from the data flow analysis. And in this case, it's just going to be the entry value here that's going to come here, and so on. Right? So that's what the data flow analysis is. I've just divided my data flow analysis into a hierarchy of regions, and I basically pretend at any level of DFA, I pretend that the next level of regions are singular statements, and then compute my DFA. And using the DFA values, I can kind of dig into any particular region and compute values inside that DFA further. Now, based on this region-based analysis, I expect that I can use more precise analysis at any stage, at any level of this hierarchy. For example, if I see a loop region, then I can use symbolic analysis for that particular loop. Now, notice that this region-based analysis requires me to have a transfer function for every region. Recall that a data flow analysis framework is made up of has a component F, which is basically the family of transfer functions, which basically says what is the transfer function that is possible for any entity, for example, a single instruction or a basic block and things like that. Now, trying to define transfer functions for any arbitrary subgraph, for example, a loop, seems rather tricky, and you need these transfer functions in advance before you even start doing the data flow analysis, because if you're doing the data flow analysis at the top level, you need to have the transfer functions of the regions at the next level, and so on. So fortunately, there is a very trivial answer to the transfer function of any region, and the trivial answer is just run the DFA algorithm inside the region to identify what is the end-to-end transfer function of that region. Okay, so a trivial transfer function of a region involves running the DFA fixed point iteration on the constituent subgraph of the next level regions. So for example, let's say this gray circle was a region. It has a single entry and a single exit. I want this region to behave as a single statement and talk about its transfer function, which I'm going to call FL. But if I dig inside this region, then there is one basic block and whose transfer function I know is FB. Then trivially, I can compute FL by just running DFA on this subgraph, right? And that DFA is just going to say, okay, let's say my initial value is X. Then I'm just going to run X. I'm just going to run DFA with this boundary condition until I reach a fixed point, and then whatever is the value that comes out, let's say that's Y. That is basically going to say, I'll have Y in terms of X based on this function. So notice that the function FL does not need to be a closed form function or anything like that. It just needs to be a computable function, and a fixed point iteration is a computable function. By computable, I mean it should terminate. The computation should terminate, and so the terminating computation for FL could be just keep applying FB until you reach a fixed point for this particular example. And so this is what a trivial implementation of FL can look like. Given an input x, you compute y equals fbx, and you keep doing this. You say y old equals y equals fby, meet with y, and you keep doing this until y is not equal to y old, which is just checking that we have reached a fixed point or not. Notice that because of the finite height of the lattice, we would eventually reach a fixed point. We are guaranteed to reach a fixed point, at which point we are just going to return the current value of y, and we are going to pretend that this is my transfer function. So internally, although we have kind of divided this into a hierarchy, internally we can trivially just run the data flow analysis inside that particular region. You may say, what is the advantage of running the whole data flow analysis inside the region? Then what was the point of actually dividing hierarchically the control flow graph into regions? And you are absolutely right. That's why I use the word trivial. This is the trivial implementation of a transfer function for a region, and the trivial implementation is not going to give you much benefit. But the point is that this region-based analysis and this hierarchical division at least gives you an opportunity to do more sophisticated transfer functions for loops or other regions. Okay, but if you don't have a more sophisticated answer, let's say you have not implemented it or you don't know how to do it, then you can always fall back to the trivial implementation, and the trivial implementation is already available, which is just run the fixed point iteration on the internal subgraph of that particular region. The trivial function behaves like the original DFA. Okay, so the trivial function is not going to give you any benefit, but at least it gives you an incremental path where you can kind of do your region-based analysis without having to actually have transfer functions for each and every region separately. If you don't have the transfer function for a region, you can always use the trivial transfer function for that region. It is important that when you actually define the transfer function of a region using your sophisticated analysis, such as symbolic analysis for loops, it is important that that particular transfer function produces more precise answers than the trivial function. Only then is this region-based analysis going to help you out. In other words, for all x, it must be true that FL region x is greater than equal to FL trivial x, where greater than equal to is the partial order operator of your semi-lattice. And this particular statement here says that the region-based transfer function, which is based on some sophisticated analysis such as symbolic analysis, should always be more precise than the trivial transfer function of the region, and only then would the region-based analysis give you more precise answers than the trivial flat data flow analysis. Notice that this is a greater than equal to sign, so even if it is equal to, it's okay, but hopefully at least for some loops, it should be greater than. Okay, this is a trivial data transfer function. Okay, so this is another example for available expressions. Let's say this is a loop FL, and I want to talk about the transfer function of this loop FL, and this is this is the body of my loop I++, and check whether I is not equal to n. If it's true, then loop. If it's false, then come out. Then if the trivial transfer function maps M to MT. So M is supposed to represent a mapping from I to its expressions, right? So for example, I comma capital I is an input mapping in M. And then I want to say what is the output mapping. And the trivial mapping is just going to map I to unknown. Because if I just run the data flow analysis on this particular subgraph, I'm going to get unknown value outside, right? Because the meet of I+1 with I is just going to give me bottom. Right? That's what the available expression says. If the two expressions are different and you meet them, then it's going to give me a bottom. However, if I am able to do a symbolic analysis, then let's say if I have a separate transfer function, which is FL symbolic of M, and it gives me MS. The trivial one was giving me MT. The symbolic transfer function gives me MS, the mapping MS. Then in the symbolic analysis, I can actually do a deeper analysis and say MSI equals N, because I know that by the time I come out, I must be equal to N, because the only reason I can come out is when I equals N. Because I is not equal to N should be false, so by the time I come out, I should be N. And so in this particular case, it's very clear that FL symbolic is giving me a more precise map than FL trivial, and so this is giving me a benefit. The region-based analysis is giving me a benefit in this particular example. In general, a region is represented as a graph on the next level regions. We've already seen examples of this. The trivial transfer function for a region involves a DFA fixed point iteration on the graph of the next level regions. And it's okay to, when I do the DFA fixed point iteration for the trivial transfer function, I can always use more sophisticated transfer functions for the next level regions. But for this particular region, I maybe okay with just doing a regular DFA. If I do a DFA for all levels of regions, then I have not really taken any advantage of the region hierarchy or the region-based analysis. During the fixed point iteration, we use the transfer function of the next level regions, which may or may not be trivial, right? So the next level, when we are doing the DFA, we use the transfer functions of the next level regions, and which may or may not be trivial, and hopefully they are not trivial. If all the transfer functions of all the regions are trivial, then we haven't really gained anything by region-based analysis. Region-based analysis is helpful only if the region level transfer functions are more precise than the trivial DFA-based transfer functions for at least some regions. For example, we may want to use symbolic analysis for loops. So recall that when we defined our region hierarchy for our program, we use procedure, loops, inner loops, and so on, and then basic blocks, and then statements. And in these, we may want to only define more precise transfer functions for certain types of loops. And for everything else, we can just fall back to the trivial transfer function, which means running the DFA just like before. And it would be useful only if we have more precise transfer functions for at least some regions in this region hierarchy. So to summarize, we recursively divide the CFG into regions, and we identify transfer functions for each region, and some of which can be trivial. And we need to do this for any DFA. So for any DFA, every region needs a corresponding transfer function. And the fallback is, of course, that we just use the trivial transfer function and that would just degenerate into the original DFA if trivial transfer functions are used for all the regions.